Well, our first guest is now ready. He's with us, Olanrewaju Suraj, Executive Director, Human and Environmental Development Agency. Welcome to the program. Good morning.
Thank you, Doctor. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Good morning. Well, very quickly, this report that was presented by Dr. Gbenga Odunton, alleging that 10 former Nigerian governors have properties worth about 36 billion pounds in the UK alone, and that we have former law enforcement officers from Nigeria having up to about 216 properties in Dubai. But the report did not attach names to the owners of these properties. The whole concern is about illicit financial flow. But what recommendations do you have in that report about how Nigeria can check this outflow of illicit money?
The recommendation really are quite many, and I should just confirm that the property in London attributed to about 10, I should say former governors and also some serving senators, is about 56 million pounds, just 10 of them. There are quite a lot or more there, but the ones that are actually confirmed with evidence and also property record from the UK system are the ones that we're talking about. And the ones in Dubai, even though we're talking about 800 properties in Dubai, that are associated with politically exposed persons, their cronies and also their fronts and proxies, even a judge in the judiciary is also part of this, former governors, serving governors. Is about 800. But the known law enforcement officers are about 216. And that is the constituency with the highest, when you consider the number of people involved, 13 of them associated with about 216 properties. And that would tell you, for either we want to admit it or not, we want to assume it, is also responsible for the state of insecurity that we have been plunged into. If the money that would have equipped the security agencies is already found in the property market of the UAE, then you can understand why there would be this level of failure in terms of taming insecurity. And part of the recommendations are the fact that not only just Nigeria, these two countries, the UK and the UAE, would have to come out clean with the revelation that we have. We have to come out clean by ensuring that we don't have toxic funds revolving within either their financial or property market in their system. And if there is the old convention and agreement around the issue of illicit financial flow and the UNCAC recognition of the need for recovery of illicit assets within the system and return of those funds or assets to the country of origin, there's a need for those two countries to start acting, not even later, but with immediate effect. The system here is the fact that also the government is the last that I want to go to. I mean, that's the politically elite, the serving government, the coming government, and the previous. It is a class. And you wouldn't expect them. They are all involved, the current, the serving, and the previous. So if we're assuming that there's going to be the saint among the political class to do the right thing, then we might actually be chasing shadows. So it is about us identifying and investigating the background of some of our politically exposed persons and the people that are associated with them, and also querying their source of wealth, because it is not just sufficient for us to assume and also admit that the moment you get into office, it should be an avenue for personal enrichment to the extent of having properties in London, Dubai. I heard it is also really horrible in South Africa presently. The same thing in Gambia and Sierra Leone, how Nigerians are becoming owners of properties in this country. So the citizens and the media and the civil society must also get, as much as possible, angry with some of these revelations and take it forward to ensure that we query the intention of the system in UK and the UAE, the Nigerian government and the law enforcement agencies on their commitment and genuine commitment, for that matter, to the issue of not just the fight against corruption, but the recovery of illicit assets.
What is the thinking? I'm asking you to step into the mind of people that you probably don't identify with at all. But I'm really quite baffled by the thinking behind this. I mean, obviously, political leaders in other countries might invest in maybe a villa in Tuscany or Marbella or something. But there's something pathological about the way we do this here. Can you explain or attempt to explain what's behind it? And with this report that you presented, what are you hoping will be the outcome? You'll recall the Panama Papers scandal that launched an avalanche of tax evasion inquiries and penalties. They've managed to recover over $1 billion as a result of that expose. What do you hope to happen with your report?
The interesting thing is the Panama paper and the Paradise paper that you actually mentioned about, the leaks, have failed to actually in any way provoke any form of anger here. Nigerians were named. Public officers were named. Serving senator, including even the Senate president, as at the time, was also fingered in those reports. But unfortunately, nothing happened. That's why I said it is not about even the political class to make things happen. It is actually about us making it a subject of discussion consistently until we get the results. Be mindful of the fact that it was even the previous government that was actually also in office or even named as at that time with the leak, but the current government failed to act on any of those that were fingered in the Paradise or Panama paper. But with this, we're happy. This is part of what we expect to happen. We have submitted the report officially to the EFCC, and deliberately, because we don't want to prejudice, the level of investigation by just also naming people, but we provided the necessary lead that would assist the government and the law enforcement agencies in tracking the people that are involved, and we're expecting them to work with that leak. And also that lead to the people that are involved and also the properties that are involved. So the law enforcement agencies have enough power, even without some of this leak and also material, to conduct the independent investigation or even summon people that are suspected to be living above their legitimate earnings and means. So this is what we want. We want discussions like this. We want Nigerians to start asking questions. We want the foreign countries to also admit the fact that the level of corruption and illicit financial flow from here, it is not just about Nigerians, it's also about their system that allows for this. We are talking about between 2004 and 2013, it was alleged that $178 billion left the shores of Nigeria as illicit financial flow, not just with the public offices and politically exposed persons, including multinational corporations, including the banks and the private sector, including the enablers in our lawyers, our accountants, our estate managers, that are playing the role of enablers for either politically exposed persons, some pocket organizations and companies that are registered in sacred tax havens that would come to Nigeria without any form of legitimate awful investment, but are able to rake in profit and not only take away the profit again, without investing anything in the system. And the ones that are investing here are also repatriating illicit funds as part of payment for services that are not even rendered in the country. And there's just this avalanche of cases that are in the system. So we want this level of discussion. We need to push the government to act. We shouldn't be mouthing anti-corruption and deceiving people with the pockets of, bread and butter, corruption fight. But we want to see concrete action from government.
I mean, very, very well said. We have a quick break coming up soon, but I'll just quickly ask you the question. I want to double-click on, security forces and officers that own properties in Dubai. You said 13 own over 200 properties. I want to get the picture right. Is it that 13 security officers own over 200 properties? I mean, I'll ask the full game when we come back from the quick commercial break. Just stay with us. Welcome back. I will say hello, Roger Suraj, Executive Director, Human and Environmental Development Agency. Welcome to the program once again. Like we're saying, I wanted to be sure. What is it? 13, security officers that own over 200 properties in Dubai, and what's the value of those properties in dirhams or in pound sterling or dollars? And I want to know if they are serving officers or officers that have retired. Over 200 properties. I want to double click on that. Can you tell me what your investigation revealed? Okay, we'll take a quick break there. We'll come back to Olaiwoju Suraj and talk some more about this. Our pleasure to have you back. We still have Olaiwoju Suraj, Executive Director, Human Environmental Development Agency. So let's go straight to it now. I wanted to be sure. You said 13 security officials have about 200 properties in the United Arab Emirates. I want to know the value of those properties, probably in dirham and dollars. And I want to know if they're still serving officers or they have left the service. Because that's quite... I'm curious to know. 13 security officers, over 200 property. What a portfolio.
Right. Well, the value of the 800 properties involved in Dubai is already put at about $400 million. $400 million. So if you're looking at that over 200, you would also be talking about over $100 million, and that would be going to about $120 million or above. For the 216 that are associated with the law enforcement officers. This was a product of a leak that happened in the UAE and also part of a report by a researcher, Matthew Page, in a report that was supported by Carnegie Endowment in the US. And it had all this information there as well. But if you remember, one of the online medium reported at about 2015, 2016, when the immediate past chief of army staff was appointed, there was the leak and the report about his ownership of property in the UAE. I think about 3 or 2 properties that were owned by the immediate past chief of army staff, Lieutenant General Buratai. And that was all over. Unfortunately, there was no investigation from the Nigerian government. And the only report that we got was more or less that, this was bought by the wife, was bought by, in the name of the wife and the rest of that. But there was a direct connection and link with the former chief of army staff in that. That was even before this research and other leak that then revealed how we have quite a whole number, an embarrassing state of so many Nigerian public office holders and law enforcement officers with properties in Dubai. And the key thing that also made Dubai very attractive is that the operators of the property market are actually not only encouraging, but assisting with the illicit financial flow. So part of our investigation assisted to have our researcher, lead researcher, disguised to the UAE as someone who is also interested in engaging the property market and investing there. And he was assured that with $1 million investment in the UAE, he's going to get a golden visa that can cover him and his family to enter UAE at any time and also stay as he wishes. And he doesn't need to worry himself if he was going to have issues transferring the money to the UAE, because they can assist him in doing the transfer. What he would need is to get the $1 million cash across to these guys, and then they will deal with the rest. So, yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we have just about 2 minutes to go, but we can't have you here, and we won't get you to comment on stories about you in the media. Yesterday, Premium Times had a story on you. This morning, the Cable also had a story on you with regard to the role that you purportedly played in the OPL 245 investigation and the integrity of the evidence that you provided. How do you determine the integrity of the evidence that you put forward in your reports? Because in the OPL 25 case, you are accused of having forged a tape and an email which did not exist. And even when that was stated, presented as evidence in Milan, in the court, that case was struck out. And you are now being accused of having maligning the reputation of Mohammed Bello Adoke, former Attorney General of the Federation.
Well, you can read some mischievous reports in the newspaper, which is very unfortunate. And that is what we also have to contend with in Nigeria in actually fighting corruption. The two evidence that were mentioned were never emanated from either myself, my organization, or any other person than the JP Morgan Chase Bank. Nigeria has challenged the bank for illegally transferring $801 million to Malibu in Nigeria. And the bank has presented as evidence in court in London, saying we got this email from someone who signed off as Mohammed Bello Adoke, giving us the instruction to transfer the money. Not from me, not from my organization. JP Morgan filed it in court and said this is the email upon which we transfer $801 million to Malibu in Nigeria. That is in the court. That is with the UK. The tape that was also mentioned was by a journalist in Italy who claimed to have purportedly interviewed a Mohammed Bello Adoke. And that tape surfaced for the first time in the Italian court. No connection with me or my organization. Okay, but because there were no defense on the part of the people that were involved, and that was a very serious indictment. The best they could.
Well, we seem to have run out of time. Thank you, Suraj.